11th Sunday of Christmas, Sharon shared with me an ornament. Now this looks kind of cute the way it is, right? But look at what happens if I slide this up, fan this out, and then slide the top back down. I've got this beautiful starburst ornament to hang on my tree. And then when we're at the end of the season, we just close it back up, fold it back up, and it's ready for storage. Now, if you wanted to give this as part of some packaging on a gift, you could certainly create this piece right here that has maybe even a smaller layer on it, or even just the layer itself is white instead of this color. And then you can write a to from, or you can write your name and the year so that you remember when you created it. And if you gave it away, maybe as part of packaging on a gift, the recipient would know who it came from and in what year. Let's see how to make it. To begin, I'm going to start with a piece of designer series paper. Now this is just a partial sheet of the 12 by 12 Snowy Scenes designer series paper. And it's got these beautiful stripes on the back and these holly and berries on the front. I need 5 3 by 3 squares. Because this is a 12-inch long piece, I'm going to cut that at 3 inches. I'll get 4 out of those, and then I'll cut another one from 3 inches. At the end of this video, I will show you how to create a slightly smaller, well, actually considerably smaller ornament from a smaller sheet. Now let's cut this at 3-inch intervals, because remember we want 3 by 3 sheets. So there's 1, 2, 3. You know what? I don't think this is quite 12 by 12. Let's see. This doesn't look like it's 3 by 3, but I guess it is. I guess it is. For some reason, they don't look square to me. Must be the optical illusion created by the pattern. All right, I'll go with it. All right, so I have 5 pieces of 3 by 3. We will also need 2 1.5-inch squares. So since this is 3 inches, all I really need to do is cut a 1.5-inch strip and then cut this at 1.5, and then that'll be cut in half, and we have 2 of these. All right, now the pattern that you want shown predominantly when the ornament is open, and you'll know what I mean when I get done, that's the one that you want to have on the outside when you're folding. What we're going to do to each piece is we're going to fold it in half and take the time to make this a really nice fold. I'm going to fold with my, and score with my bone folder, not fold, but not score, but burnish. I can't talk right now for some reason. All right, so I've folded in half each way, and then I'm going to fold it on the diagonal. Right, and so one of those is done. And I need to do that to all 5. I'm going to walk you through another one. You're going to fold it in half, lengthwise and widthwise, which, yes, I know that they're the same. And then you're going to fold it on one diagonal, just one, point to point. All right. And you do that to the other 3 as well. Okay, we've got all 5 done. I should have mentioned that you could use your scoring blade on your paper trimmer to score in each direction and then fold on the diagonal, but I found that you can get the best folds, the most accurate folds, this way. So now what we want to do is we want to find the 2 points where we were on the diagonal and poke them in. So you poke them into the center, and then you're just going to press. If you want, you can use a bone folder. I find my fingers work also. So here are the diagonals. I'm going to poke those in so they'll fold the opposite way. And there we go. And these should be pretty square. If they're a little bit off, it's okay. You don't want them very far off, but a little off is okay. Poke those sides in. There we go. The other way you can think of it, if you don't want to think of it as poke them in, is you want to bring this diagonal, the inside, right to that middle part of the top. All right, so now we have all of those pieces. Now what we're going to do, and it's important to know which, where the openings are. So I consider these the free points because they, they're unconnected. So these guys are connected to those sides, but these are the free ones. They're the opposite sides of the diagonals of the squares that don't have any score lines in them. You're going to adhere those all together. And I just use green glue. I think other adhesives would be fine. You want something pretty strong, so I would say Seal Plus. I don't think I would use tear and tape, simply because, now notice I want to do free point to free point, and then I'm just going to line them up and squeeze them together. You probably don't want tear and tape because tear and tape has a bit of a thickness to it. All right, so I'm just letting that set up. And now again, here's my free point. I'm going to bring in another one. Here's a free point. I just had a thought that my son has never really outgrown the habit of saying free for, 1, 2, free. And so I am not saying 3, I'm saying free, F-R-E-E. But it sounds just like he says it when he says 3. And he can say it right, he just chooses not to most of the time. And here we have another one. And it really is important that those free ends, those free points, are together. So I'm trying very hard to keep them all pretty lined up and square. And the glue, what I love about the glue is it gives you some wiggle time, but it also sets up pretty quickly. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit the camera. Free side with free side. All right. Just set this up here. All right. Now, those other 2 squares, they're going to go on here as well, and you're going to make sure that the pattern that's showing out here is the pattern that's going to be showing when you're done. This little free point, that's the target. I also need to bring in a ribbon. I have about a 12-inch piece of ribbon, and I'm going to secure it from this center point where you can see they're all connected all the way to that opposite free point. And I am going to just add some glue all over, but especially down that center. And we will lay this. You want to make sure your ribbon doesn't go beyond the square here. I'm going to just put a little bit more adhesive glue on here. because I want to make sure, and I don't want to put too much on the edge because I don't want it to ooze out, but I do want to make sure I get the edges pretty well. And we're just going to cover that up. All right. And you might find that it's easier to just close it and press down. And you definitely want to give that a little bit of time to set up. So you can do the other side. You want to make sure that your ribbon is not twisted. So again, it's going to extend from this free point to the side that is totally not free. So if you wanted to go ahead and first do this little centerpiece, you could do that. And let's see, I'm going to put that right up there in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little bit more glue around the edges and over the top here. Make sure I get plenty of adhesive in there. And there we go. And we just want to make sure that that's nice and set up. So I mean, it's cute just closed, right? It's a nice little ornament just closed. If you bring in a bead here, I'm going to take my ribbon, I'm going to fold it and get it through the end of this bead. And I might need a little bit of help from maybe the ends of my scissors or a pen or something. I just need to be able to grab it. All right. And so when you pull on that bead, it holds it shut. But look at what happens. When I bring it out and I flip this around, and then I bring my bead back down, you now have this ornament to hang on your tree. And so the finished size here, it's about 4 inches, 4 inches across and high. And just really kind of a cute little ornament to hang on your tree. And then when you want to store it at the end of the year, you just slide this back up, close it. Oh, I tangled my ribbon somehow. And then slide this back down. And voila, you have a nice little ornament. All right. Now, remember, we started with a 3x3 piece here. We can make a smaller one if we start with a 2x2 piece. One thing that I wanted to mention before we get to the second version of this project is that tomorrow Stampin' Up! Is beginning a 3-day free shipping promotion. So the free shipping applies to orders of $75 or more. So if you are doing some Christmas shopping for yourself or others, now is a great time to do it. And it's also really that last push so that you can get things in time for Christmas. The sale goes December 9th through the 11th. Stampin' Up! Has said, don't count on anything arriving in time if you place the order after the 13th. So, and there's still no guarantees because, you know, we never really know what the shipping is like and when things are being delivered. I mean, Amazon can't predict it either. So just wanted to let you know and be aware of that. Now let's get back to this project and see a smaller version. I'm going to bring in one of my very favorite papers. So we had this year this Take a Bow, spelled like take a bow, but take a bow paper. And I love this pattern, so I'm going to use this one here. Actually, I've got another little piece left over from when I made some before. And I'm going to do the same thing again, except I'm going to cut 2x2 inch squares instead of 3 by 3. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do 2 by 2 is, first of all, my tree, I don't know, I just don't like huge ornaments on my tree. So I wanted something a little bit smaller. You could also do 2.5 by 2.5. That would get an intermediate size one. If you're in the Goldilocks world, that would be, you know, mama bears, which is, I guess, just right. So here's a 2 by 2, and I can get 5 out of these very easily. There's 1, and I even have some left over. 2, 3. 4, 5, and then I want 2 1 by 1 pieces. Oh, look how tiny this is. All right. Let's set this aside here. And see, I still have this left over from my original, oops, not this. I still have this left over from my original 6 by 6 piece. Now we're going to do the same thing that we did before, and I will speed this up. But again, just to remind you, we're just going to fold in half. Fold in half again. I want the polka dots on the outside, because otherwise the green side's going to get lost on my tree. You know, unless you have a white tree, and then maybe you want the white one, the green showing. So there's one, and we'll just do the same thing to all the others. All right, so now we'll just pinch these diagonals in. So I find it easiest if you keep them folded on the diagonal, so that when you go to stack them, so keep it folded on the diagonal, and then all you're going to do is push this inside and push this inside. Oh, that one's not behaving, is it? There we go. You know what? I don't think it was folded square. Now it is. There we go. And there we go. Remember, you want to be able to see your green, so that's pointing to where my free points are, what I call my free points. I'm going to put just a little bit of adhesive on it. Don't want it gushing out the sides if you can help it. Let it set up for just a second, and then continue stacking. Now I can use that same red ribbon, or I could bring in this silver trim. And because this is smaller, I probably don't need as much. I'm going to just use a 10-inch piece and see how that works out. I'm not really sure how it'll work out or not. And we want to just go right up the center with that. And you don't want to just do the end. You want to have this all along the center, because that will give the paper more to grab onto. You just want to make sure that it's not sticking out anywhere except for the top there. This is a little bit thicker than the red ribbon, but I think it'll be just fine. just stick this piece right over it. And I try to get my dots going in the same direction. I don't know that it matters, but just in case it does. I'm going to fold this back up, makes it easier to just kind of squish together and help it set up. We're going to turn our attention to the other side. Put some right down the center. Want to make sure that this does not get twisted. Yeah, 10 inches. You probably don't ever want anything shorter than 10 inches. That's for sure. I mean, I don't like my ornaments to hang super far down, but kind of depends on the tree you have too, I think. If you're a little bit more of a Charlie Brown tree, you probably have a lot of spaces to fill. I have a fake tree. I grew up with real trees. My parents, if they were still alive, probably would be like, oh, it's too bad that you don't have a real tree, but they're expensive. And this year with the drought, they're probably a little bit more dangerous. All right, so I'm just letting that set up for a second. Now, if your hands get a little bit sticky, you might find that you get a little stickiness out here, which I did see that. So I'm just going to take my adhesive eraser and take that off. Looks like there's a little bit on this side. All right. So let me get another bead. Here I had my beads. Like I brought a whole package just for this particular project. All right, so here's my bead. And it doesn't matter whether you do it with it closed or not, because it works the same way, open or closed. Now I do find that this goes through a lot easier right here. Okay, I said that and now it doesn't, but it really does. Just gotta fold it in half a little bit. Push it through, there we go. So there we have it closed. Now this is pretty, if you want to make sure that that never comes off, you could just tie a little knot here in the very top if you wanted to. I mean, I don't think it's really going to come off, but that would stop it from coming off anyways. But then when you want to open it up, look at this. Just slide this together and we have another little ornament to hang from our tree. So let me show you a size comparison here. So this is what you get with a 2-inch, starting with 2-inch squares, and this is what you get starting with 3-inch squares. Take your pick. They're both fantastic, and you know what? You probably don't even have to take your pick. You can do them both. And that is the 11th Sunday of Christmas. And there you have it, an easy ornament that you can add to your tree, or you can put on packaging as you're giving gifts to others this Christmas season. You know what? You don't even have to choose. You can make more than one and do both. Please share with me your creations. I would love to see them, and I'd love to see what beads that you use or what ribbons and DSPs that you use. I think it's lots of fun to see the variety that is out there. If you would like the project sheet that will show you step by step how to recreate these, including all measurements, and a link back to this video, then make sure you are on my email list, because tomorrow I will send out the project sheet in my email. You can find the link to subscribe to my email list in the description of this video. And of course, you can unsubscribe at any time. Not only will it include the project sheet for today's project, but it will also include the project sheet for my weekly Friday Night Live that I had 2 days ago. So go ahead and sign up if you haven't, and I will see you next week for our 12th Sunday of Christmas.